Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's April 8th, Wednesday. Welcome back to Agenda. And we're slightly adjusting things today. A little technical difficulty here and there. So it's not going to be a perfect situation. And we'll be constantly making adjustments, especially with our cameras. Like, for instance, right now, there we go. We need to do that proper tilt. This is one of those realities of working from home. Okay, today's headlines. The President, Rodrigo Duterte, has approved the recommendation of the IATF regarding the Luzon-wide community quarantine. They have expanded the quarantine up to April 30, midnight of April 30. The recommendation was made by the Interagency Task Force. Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles said such extension of the ECQ shall be without prejudice to the discretion of the President to relax that implementation of the ECQ in some local jurisdictions or the granting of exemptions in favor of certain sectors such as public health considerations and food security as may warrant. Extended lockdown also seen to help increase the health capacity of the country. So I guess in short, the Secretary Nograles is saying that there will be certain exemptions. There might be some relaxing of the rules for particularly in food and maybe manufacturing. But that remains to be seen. Don't quote me on that because right now it's a very fluid situation. Next up, NEDA Chief Ernesto Pernia proposes a modified ECQ to ensure smoother delivery of basic goods and allow some businesses to reopen and serve communities. Also, particularly for transport of goods from agriculture provinces to be eased. Manufacturing businesses, which are crucial to essential goods, should also be allowed to resume operations to satisfy demand. Shuttle services for their workers, but social distancing protocols should still be strictly enforced. Okay, now next up we have Department of Finance. The government is mulling aid for MSMEs. Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez III yesterday said government will relocate some funds for the purpose. They will support will come in form of subsidy to fund the salaries of workers employed by MSMEs. Other measures to help ease COVID impact on middle class. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas has imposed a moratorium on the payment of loans and credit card amortization. Monetary Board has lowered its interest rates as well. Now, we'll go for a quick break here. We'll go to our interview for the day. We have with us Senator Win Gatchalian. We'll try to make it a faster day today. Senator Win Gatchalian, if you are there, let's find out. Oh, okay. I think we're still doing some technical adjustment. Okay. Headlines. Just a warning for anyone out there planning to get into the business of reselling medical supplies at a cutthroat rate. There's already been 650 persons arrested for selling overpriced medical supplies. General Guillermo Elizar said the suspects were arrested in various law enforcement operations from March 17 to April 16. 466 arrests were made in Luzon, 50 from Visayas, and 134 from Mindanao. One of the operations stemmed from a tip that the suspects were selling alcohol online at 650 pesos per gallon when its suggested retail price is at 520 per gallon. The NBI has also summoned a Facebook user for saying money spent on the 2 billion peso jet of the Armed Forces of the Philippines would have been better spent on healthcare. NBI has started its probe into the unnamed Facebook user's post criticizing what he said was a misuse of government funds. Veteran rights lawyer Chel Jokno went to the NBI on Tuesday morning to represent his client who received the subpoena for a supposed violation of Article 154 of the revised penal code. Okay, I think we have our shuffle in our lineup of interviews. We have ready Secretary Lito Galvez, former retired General Carlito Galvez. He is the chief implementer for the task force programs. Secretary Galvez, magandang umaga po.
Magandang umaga po sa inyo, sir, at mabuhay po kayo.
Okay, Sec, I've been listening to your interviews. Maagang-maaga pa lang, ini-interview ko na ng maraming mga broadcaster. But I guess the question now that is floating in the air, with the President extending the enhanced community quarantine to April 30, is there a new game plan? And may mga nagtatanong, what exactly is the plan and what is Secretary Galvez tasked with?
So, sa akin po, ang task ko po ay implement po natin yung tinatawag nating National Action Plan ng ating gobyerno against COVID. Sa ngayon po, ang ginagawa po natin is we wanted to flatten the curve at the same time increasing our capacities. Sa ngayon po, nag-ikot po ako ng mga different hospitals at tinignan ko po yung mga capacity nila. And I would like to say that our DOH capacity is now greatly improving, especially sa testing, yung capacity ng mga buildings na mga tinatawag natin ng mga referral hospitals like PGH at saka yung Tala Hospital dito sa Caloocan. They are very, very ready to handle COVID patients.
Okay, so I've medyo nakikita na namin na mabilisan yung pagtatayo ng mga mass quarantine areas or sites. And sa nakikita ba ninyo and your coordination with the DOH and our government hospitals, are we actually going to need those quarantine sites? Sa tingin ba ninyo, magagamit natin or baka naman hindi lumala yung sitwasyon?
So, tinitingnan po natin, hindi pa po nagra-rise ang situation po natin as compared to the world phenomenon. Nakita natin na ang US, they're having 1,000 deaths every day. Sa ngayon po, medyo nakukuha po natin dahil kasi nakita po natin na yung lockdown or yung enhanced quarantine, community quarantine, has given us a leverage po. Nakita po natin talaga na maganda ang naging resulta niya po na talagang medyo na delay at nabigyan po tayo ng time na makapacitate po natin ang ating healthcare capacities. So sa ngayon po, nakita po namin magagamit po natin yan dahil kasi nakipag-coordinate na po kami sa PGH at saka sa mga ibang hospital na yung mga tinatawag natin ng mga kanilang pasyente na light and mild, pwede pong ilagay po doon sa tinatawag natin sa Rizal Memorial Coliseum para po mabakante po nila yung ating mga hospital para po sa mga tinatawag nating critical at saka tinatawag nating pong mga serious cases po ng COVID.
Secretary, maswerte pa kayo or I don't know kung maswerte. Medyo, I don't envy your position because you have to personally inspect those locations and visit the hospitals as well. So it puts you in the line of danger. But kami namang mga journalists, gusto rin naming makita yung actual situation sa hospital. Could you possibly share what you have witnessed in our government hospitals? Maluwag pa ba o nagkakasiki pa na? Because, if you watch all of these programs from abroad, everyone is saying hospitals are maxed out. People are already being lined up on the hallways. How about in the Philippines? Kamusta po ba dito ang mga hospital natin? Nagkakasikipan ba o maluwag-luwag naman na nakakahinga pa o nakakapahinga pa yung ating mga nurses at mga doktor?
Dito sa ano po, yung aking pong sasabihin lang po yung sa ating mga tinatawag na government referral hospitals. So yun, nagagaling po ako sa Tala. Meron pa po silang more than 150 beds na vacant. And then sa PGH po, malaki pa po ang bakante po natin. And then sabi sa lung center, lumiliit po ang referral po sa lung center. Ibig sabihin na tama po yung ating estratehiya na talaga yung pag-lockdown po na yung hard decision po nila, recommendation nila General Anyo at saka nila Secretary DOH na magkaroon po tayo ng lockdown, medyo na ibsan po ng konti yung mga referrals, medyo bumaba po yung sa iba. Ang nakita natin, ang medyo naging congested yung 10 malalaking hospital natin na mga civilian hospitals. But I believe ngayon medyo nag-settle down na yung mga tinatawag nating mga cases. And we are so happy na nung nagpunta po kami sa Tala, talagang ready. Kasi itong Tala po, ito po yung internationally, ito yung dati nating sanitarium. Ito po talagang well prepared. At saka talaga po ito, mga trained po sa abroad pertaining pandemics. And they are very, very ready. I'm very happy na nakita ko talaga na yung ating mga frontliners ay talagang very dedicated, na talagang they are motivated to really up to fight itong COVID.
Okay, in terms of regional concerns or, we have 3 island groupings in the Philippines, Secretary. Maswerte tayo in Luzon that the seat of government is located in Luzon. Most of the forces and the experts are in Luzon. What about the Visayas and Mindanao? Will the Visayas and Mindanao have its separate setup? Magkakaroon ba sila ng separate chief implementer for Visayas and Mindanao, or i-oversight mo na lang or overlook mo na lang na ikaw na lang ang magsusupervise nun from your office?
So ngayon po, mamayang umaga po, ngayong 10 o'clock, mag-uusap-usap po kami na tinatawag nating mga local incident commanders sa baba. Pag-uusapan po namin yung tinatawag nating implementation po ng lockdown dito sa Manila at saka yung tinatawag nating localized healthcare strategy na mga different regional at saka provincial and municipal and even barangay strategy. Kasi nakikita po namin na dapat yung flattening of the curve, hindi po lang po national ang dapat magandang, pati yung dapat ng mga governor at saka yung mga apektadong COVID-affected area. Dapat sila po ang talagang magkaroon ng tinatawag na role, yung mga health officer po natin, sila po ang parang frontliner natin para at least ma-prevent ang spread. I-isolate kaagad po sa quarantine area yung mga potential carriers and at the same time provide genuine healthcare sa mga po natin.
So ngayon pa lang sinasabi nyo na, General, na dapat magtayo na rin yung Visayas and Mindanao ng kanilang mga facilities?
Sir, actually, sir, three weeks ago, nagbigay na po ng memorandum si Secretary Anyo to prepare all yung quarantine na facilities na yun, to convert some sport facilities, some of our state universities, and even yung ibang mga tinatawag nating mga convention centers into a mass quarantine area. Kasi po, nakikita po namin talaga yung detection at saka po isolation is very important para po magkaroon po na tinatawag nating immediate healthcare doon po sa mga COVID patient. Kasi pumunta po ako sa lung center, ang sabi po nila, ang mga karamihan po ang cause ng death is death on arrival. Ibig sabihin, malala na po nung pumunta sa kanila. At saka nangyayari po, pag po dumating po sa kanila, more than 50 to 60% hindi na po magsusurvive. Meaning, ang kailangan po talaga, doon pa po sa local government, kailangan magkaroon na po ng early detection. And then therefore, magkakaroon na po ng referral immediately doon sa mga designated na mga tinatawag na COVID referral hospitals. Nagtayo po tayo ng mga tinatawag na COVID referral hospitals po sa nationwide. At sa ngayon po, ang alam po namin, meron tayong 560 quarantine areas designated ng mga local government units.
Maraming salamat tungkol dyan, Secretary, because it's something that no one has actually ever mentioned before in the interviews I've had and I have watched. Na the deaths, a number of deaths are DOA or very severe situations already. Malaking bagay na binanggit mo yan because maraming mga barangay natatakot, they're afraid to pick up potential patients. May mga barangay na tinatabo yung may mga diferensya imbis na chine-check na kagad and then ire-refer sa isang doctor. May I ask you, Secretary, kasi meron dun sa village ng kapatid ko sa PhilInvest sa Quezon City, gumawa sila ng directory of physicians in their own village so that if anybody needed help, they can actually be able to call a doctor. Are you implementing such a policy where barangays should list down and give out all the numbers of the physicians?
Ganun po ang ginagawa natin at the barangay level at municipal level at saka sa provincial level. Dapat po talaga very active po ang health officer at yung LGU. Very critical po ang ano po ng LGU dito. And also, I would like also to encourage na yung CSOs din po, yung mga private sectors, yung tinatawag natin yung support ng private sector is very, very important. Yung nakita po natin yung nangyari sa Rizal Memorial Coliseum, yung dito po sa World Trade Center, this is a complete example of bayanihan. Wala pong ginastos actually yung gobyerno natin kasi yung nag-pour in ng mga resources yung mga private sector. So ngayon po yung gagawin na lang po namin yung maintenance at saka po yung operating expenses, yun na lang po ang aming ibibigay. Pero sa ngayon po talaga po pati yung pagkain, yung internet, pati yung even yung ating mga electricity, they're all paid by the private sector.
Okay, that's good to know, Secretary. Now, two important questions. Number one, kamusta na po yung doon sa Philippine Arena na binuksan ng ating mga kapatid sa Iglesia ni Cristo for use for mass quarantine? Do you see that facility actually being used or pang standby na lang muna yun?
Ang inano po natin, kailangan po talaga tayo well prepared po tayo sa worst case scenario. So yung Philippine Arena po, yung po ay dedicated natin para sa area ng northern Manila at saka yung Quezon City. Nakita natin na Quezon City po ay badly hit. So nakikita natin kung just in case na hindi po makaya ng Quezon Institute at ng mga ibang hospital dito, pwede nating ilipat po yung mga mild cases dito po sa Philippine Arena at pati po ang Region 3 kasi ang Region 3 po, pangatlo po sa buong region, pinakamataas po ang COVID affectation. So yung Kamanaba plus Quezon City plus Region 3 can use this Philippine Arena just in case na magkaroon ng tinatawag nating overflowing ng mga cases pagka nagkaroon na po tayo ng massive testing sa mga PUIs at saka mga PUMs.
Okay, Secretary, what about the involvement of private sector? Kasi habang tumatagal ang laban, nagiging malinaw, it's becoming clearer that it's wrong to rely on government alone. Even the President said, nauubos na yung pondo, and it's also been noticed that a lot of the big corporations are stepping up. Kanya lang, nagkakaroon ng concern naman yung mga private sector, paano kami tutulong, saan kami tutulong. Parang it's not obvious. We don't see it yet on the ground that a system is being set up so that private sector can now call in. Because sa mga barangay lang, kung may mga nagugutom na kapitbahay, pwede magtulungan. But because of the lockdown, medyo hesitant ang mga tao. At what point will we open the opportunities to private individuals to help government?
Nagkaroon po kami ng pagpupulong ng business sector, kasama na po ang ating presidential advisor on business, si PA Joey
Joey
Concepcion.
Concepcion. Yes.
And then nag-usap-usap po sila Sir Ayala, yung mga sila Sir Rason na handon. So ngayon tumutulong po, gusto ko pong ibigay ang mga pagtulong ng ating mga philanthropists na mga business sector. Unang-una, sila po nag-produce po ng maraming PPEs. They were committed to produce more or less 1 million PPEs. So sa ngayon po, marami na po silang nabibigyan ng mga hospital, and at the same time, nagbigay po sila ng tinatawag nating mga some support ng mga food at saka mga non-food items. Yung mga bed space binigyan po yung mga bed binigay po ni MVP, binigay po ni Villar, yung mga lahat po ng mga cot beds, nagbigay rin po ang ating US Ambassador ng 1,000 cot beds. And then yung may mga grupo na tinatawag na ugnayan, headed by na tinatawag natin mga talagang yung mga crisis managers natin na nandun sa business. Tumulong po sila magbigay ng tinatawag nating mga gift checks na worth 1.7 billion para sa ating mga urban poor. At sila po ay gumagawa ng paraan na yung gap, na yung listahan po ng LGU at DSWD, yung mga hindi po nabigyan, ay mabigyan din po nila yung mga CSOs po at saka mga private sector na gusto po tumulong po sa atin.
Okay. I won't take up any more of your time. Suggestion na lang, Secretary Galvez. Siguro marami because I also belong to a faith-based organization, Victory Christian Fellowship, and maraming mga churches na namimigay na ngayon ng mga food packages. Ang hinahanap lang ng mga iba is wala bang hotline or go-to place or mako-contact para pag napak na, papipick up na lang sa kanila. Kasi ngayon, namimigay na lang bahay-bahay na ang pamimigay ng mga face mask. So maybe suggestion na lang yung hotline or go-to place for pick-up.
Meron po tayong joint logistics ng OCD, DOH at saka ng Armed Forces. So nag-create na po na tayo ng dalawang warehouses dito po sa warehouse number 6 and warehouse number 7 sa GHQ po. So sila po ang nagbibigay po ng tinatawag nating mga request at saka sa distribution at saka lahat po ng donations, including international donations. Ang OCD po ang in charge.
Okay. Maraming salamat, Secretary Galvez. It's good to speak with you again. And in spite of the challenges, it's good to know that we are moving forward. We are going to win this war. And we hope that you stay strong, stay healthy, and stay safe.
Opo, we will win this one. We will win. Kaya po natin ang COVID.
Okay, maraming salamat po. And that was Secretary Carlito Galvez. He is the chief implementer of the government's program for this Luzon-wide lockdown. Now, let's go to a gentleman who I have been trying to find for some time now. He is actually the executive vice president of the University of the Philippines, and he was a Undersecretary of Health from 2010 to 2015. He's also an international associate of the Johns Hopkins University. We have with us Dr. Teddy Herbosa. Dr. Ted, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sito. I'm very happy indeed to see you again after such a long time and be happy to help in what we've been doing at the university as well.
Okay, let's get on to the program. And I have been listening to many of your presentations, reading up, and the first thing that caught my eye was something, I hope I heard it right. You mentioned that ideally our lockdown or our quarantine should be anywhere from 60 days, 2 months, to 75 days, because only under that kind of period will we more or less know, and given the condition that we are doing mass testing. Now, right now, we are looking at a 45-day period, which is way below your 60, and we are only about to start mass testing next week after Holy Week, April 14. What are your thoughts on this? Can you please share with our viewers the inputs or what you have put together as far as your study is concerned?
Thank you, Sito. That's correct. When the pandemic started, of course, there were no classes, so I gathered all the university professors that were working from home, and we tried to solve the problems of the pandemic from my perspective as a former undersecretary and what the country should be. So we got the data from the Department of Health, the ones they publish daily, and we ask our mathematicians and our bioinformatics experts. So these are people that track epidemics, and they started doing graphs and projections. We call it modeling. So they do mathematical modeling with assumptions, and those numbers that you said, 45 to 75 days of lockdown to flatten the curve. In fact, as we speak, I read the news last night of New South Wales in Australia implementing a 90-day lockdown. So it looks like our statistical computations are at par with the rest of what the other countries have done. Even China had a lockdown for almost like 2 months or 3 months. So that's the figure, and I'm very happy that the IATF and the president recommended an extension from 30 days to now 45 days, which was the minimum number we said, wherein we will see the flattening. So that's where that comes from. That comes from modeling and projections by our mathematicians at the University of the Philippines.
Okay, now so we still are in the safe zone, but what about the content? But it's supposed to be contingent on mass testing and
Correct.
actual strict implementation of the quarantine. But
Correct.
my problem is people have been sending me photos of public markets where people are crowded, are not following social distancing. Photos of people wandering around in their cars. Even the police, the PNP, have been arresting people wandering around. I mean, this is not going to help that model and the outcome.
Correct, Sito. The projections we make is that the flattening happens in combination with many public health measures. Uh, Enhanced community quarantine is just one measure. Staying home and preventing the virus to transmit in communities. The other measures are now we've implemented with Secretary Galvez, because Secretary Galvez invited me to be one of his special advisors on health. So I'm already working with the National Action Plan and implementation. So we've already asked the DOH to implement a universal mask policy, wherein people should wear masks when they go if they have to. The second one is, of course, social distancing, hand washing, separating vulnerable people immediately. And that's what Secretary Galvez was talking about. Not only do we have an continued ECQ, let me call that for short, the ECQ or Enhanced Community
Yeah.
Quarantine, we also need to do those big temporary quarantine facilities for the PUIs. The reason for this is, Sito, if you think about a household in the Philippines, a middle class to a lower income household, they would have many elderly, which are the people that die, and they would have about 2 or 3 families in one household. And if it's in a slum area, that even goes up to 4 or 5 core families living together in a very small space. So our idea is really to have those big modified buildings to become temporary quarantine facilities. I think you were showing a lot of them in your earlier interview with Secretary Galvez. So that's the strategy of the plan, to do testing and then identify the persons under influence, or what we call the people that have symptoms. These are the probable cases. The probable cases will be in the temporary quarantine facilities so that they will not infect the community anymore and we end transmission, flatten the curve. That
Okay.
also helps the other end of the spectrum, which is the hospital. So the hospital actually has to be protected so that only the COVID positive, or those that are tested and confirmed positive and the most serious, will be admitted to the referral hospitals that Secretary Galvez described: PGH, the one in Tala, Jose Rodriguez, and Lung Center for Metro Manila, and several others for the rest of the Philippines.
Okay, now moving forward, assuming all of this works, isolation, quarantine, social distancing, assuming it all works, okay, phase two would be the gradual return or gradual opening of factories, of people going back to work. Now, in does your model study, or did you guys figure out what should the pacing be? Where should we start? Because presidential assistant on entrepreneurship, Joey Concepcion, has been pushing for a barangay based setup where the barangay determines who's a PUI, who's a PUM, who's been cleared. And then there's the argument you can't do that because we have no way of knowing the asymptomatics. Now, I think that's the big
Correct.
issue right now. Asymptomatics. I mean, what sort of a threat do people who don't have the symptoms but are carriers pose on all these things that we're doing?
Thank you, Sito. That's a very good point. We have what they term in this type of public health problem the super spreader. The super spreader is someone that has the virus but is asymptomatic. He doesn't have symptoms. He doesn't get ill. He doesn't have the sore throat, but he goes around the community infecting everyone. So this is also another item loophole of any kind of isolation problem, because if you have super spreaders going around, then you will have continued community transmission and your spike will still continue. So we need to catch them. And I think one option there is actually to do some kind of rapid test or sampling. We still have to strategize that, but that's an issue in itself. And I thank you for pointing that out, because that's what they say of the infected, about 50% will be asymptomatic. About of the remainder that are symptomatic, about 80% will get well on their own. It's only the 20% that's actually going to be sick and required hospital. And of that 20%, about one fourth will actually be requiring ventilator therapy. So these are the complications we're looking at, the match between the number of cases and the hospital capacity. So we're moving up. So the National Action Plan is to ramp up the hospital capacity or surge capacity. We increase capacity of the hospital, delay the peaking of the epidemic so that the hospital can adapt and take care of the people. So this is the general national plan. I think it's working already, because we're going to kick in with the first big hospital, Rizal Memorial Coliseum, that will be a temporary quarantine facility. I think starting to operate this week. So that will help communities become protected, because I think the previous weeks we didn't have this type of facility. Each LGU did their own type of quarantine, to a hotel, to a barangay center, or locking them in their house. So there were varied forms. So with the implementation of these huge quarantine facilities, I think we can protect the communities better, and we also at the same time help the hospitals from becoming overcrowded by the very sick people or the mildly sick people.
Okay, final question, Dr. Ted. What are we doing in terms of augmenting or supporting the frontliners, particularly nurses and doctors? Because I know that in the United States, they basically put out the call for even retired doctors or nurses to please come back to work, please help out, because they're just really so short of people. What is the situation in the Philippines? Are we still okay? Do we still have a lot, or are we going to have to start calling on our retirees to come back and help?
As you know, the Department of Health already asked for volunteer doctors and nurses, and they got about 600 or so. Our hospitals, the problem is once a health professional is either infected, is they can't work. We will put them out of commission for like 14 days, correct? So that's the one that makes the hospital and the other doctors who are not infected carry the brunt of all the workload that's in the hospital. So that's why it's very important to have a deep pool of human resources. And in the national strategy, the idea really is that we protect the health workers. That's the exact words of Secretary Galvez. We need to provide the PPEs, and the PPEs he described are actually in the OCD central supply, and the hospitals just need to coordinate with the National Task Force, so they will have continued supply. His idea is that at least each hospital will have a seven-day supply of personal protective equipment, so that they can continue to care for these positive patients without fear of becoming infected and then decommissioned to serve the public. So they are our frontline soldiers. We need to supply them, and so that's part of the strategy. We need to protect our frontline workers with the necessary equipment to be able to fight this battle against COVID-19.
Okay, well, I know you have to rush out for a very important meeting with Secretary Galvez and all of the other advisors and planners for this program. So we thank you, Dr. Ted. You should actually be chilling out at home, but instead you are in the front lines. And please keep us posted, keep us informed about all these things that we need to know how to help fight this COVID-19. We ask that you stay strong, stay safe, and stay healthy. Thank you for all your inputs this morning, Dr. Ted Herbosa.
Thank you, Sito, and stay safe as well.
Okay, that was Dr. Ted Herbosa, and as you heard, he's also part of the advisory group helping Secretary Lito Galvez on the matter. Next, we have Senator Win Gatchalian, who will be joining us from his home. He's also working from home. There we go. Senator Gatchalian, good morning to you. Okay, I think we have an audio problem. Could you please check whether your microphone is muted? Let's try again, Senator. Okay, we will have to check on that. There. Okay, I'll ask our team to look into that. In the meantime, I just want to take this chance to speak out to call out to all of our friends, viewers. There's been a lot of discussion regarding the shortage or the problem with the social amelioration fund. People are talking about kulang sa pagkain, wala nang makain, and people are talking about the government is not doing enough. I'm not going to take sides on the issue, but I would just like to remind everybody, this is not the first tragedy or calamity that the Filipinos have faced. We have faced quite a number of calamities, earthquakes, typhoons, tsunamis, etc. We survived all of them. And in all of them, we have traditionally been in a situation of bayanihan. For those of you who are old enough to remember what bayanihan is really all about, it's about working together and helping each other. It is not about relying on the government, expecting the government to do everything for you, and for us to just stand on the sidelines. Let's be reminded that this is what the Filipinos are all about. We help each other, we work with each other, and in times of crisis, and may I remind you, this pandemic, this global pandemic, is equivalent to a world war. There is no country on earth that is not affected by COVID-19. This is a world war. This may as well be our World War III. In the United States, the Surgeon General has called it their Pearl Harbor event. Now, here in the Philippines, it's a World War III as far as we're concerned because every Filipino is under threat. Now, most of us are staying at home, which we should all do. That is doing our civic duty. That is as well as an act of heroism. But at the end of the day, staying at home and bitching and complaining and criticizing and pointing out shortcomings, it really doesn't help. And here's the bad part about it. While you think you are expressing your opinion, while you think you are giving your 10 cents worth of thought, it's actually also going back at you. The more you criticize, the more critical and negative you become. In fact, there are people who are already talking about mental health because people are just really dwelling too much on the negative. In any case, I digress. I just want to point out we should not rely on government alone. If we can help ourselves, let's help ourselves. Okay, our guest, Senator Win Gatchalian, might be ready right now. Senator Gatchalian, are you okay with your audio? Okay, we are. There we go. Senator? Okay, something is wrong. I still can't hear you. You are in silent mode. Uh, Please check your microphone. Try again. Okay, we can't seem to get it, Gab. We will go back. In any case, as I was saying, we cannot rely on government. In fact, government needs us now. Well, it needs our cooperation, staying at home. It needs our help.
Pero gusto pa rin namin talaga matuloy.
How are you able to arrange a wedding considering under quarantine tayo?
Mhm. Bali ano po, lahat kinausap na po namin yung pastor namin bago pa yung week na mag-lockdown. So, medyo nalungkot kami kasi baka nga po hindi matuloy. Pero kami, nasa isip naming dalawa na hindi kahit anong mangyari, ituloy natin kahit dalawa lang tayo nandun, tapos ilan lang yung witness. Yun yung nasa isip po namin. Tapos, pero may hope pa rin kami na baka matapos yung lockdown, mahabol pa rin po.
Mhm.
Kasi parang para sa amin, ayun po yung pinakang
Kina-
gift talaga.
Kinausap namin si Pastor that time. Sabi namin, Pastor, if ever magkaroon ng lockdown or yung ECQ, desire pa rin namin, gusto pa rin namin matuloy kahit simpleng blessing and simpleng ceremony lang with our pastor.
Yes po.
Okay, so physical distancing ba ang ginawa ninyo o online marriage? Kasi medyo naku-curious na ako, paano niyo ginawa yung kasalan?
Yeah, yun nga po, ito parang yung parang medyo funny or parang medyo nakakatuwa. Yes, may ceremony siya, konting tao, and yes, may physical distancing talaga. Kasi kinakabahan kami, sabi ko namin, nako, baka mamaya pagka-picture makita, sabihin, lumalabog kami. So,
Yeah.
siguro yung kasal na yon talagang history siya na sa lahat ng kinakasal,
Hindi po yung nakamas.
parang pinaghihiwalay.
Okay, paano pakiulit ka, paano pinaghihiwalay?
Yung sa ceremony na yon, sa ceremony na yon, dun sa
Ay,
habang
diyan,
ginagawa
itong
yun.
photo na ito, ang lalayo ng mga
Yeah.
witness nyo.
Opo. So,
Ilan ang witness nyo?
Siguro po 7 or 8 lang kami, ganon. And yung
Okay.
mga bisita rin namin, talagang malapit lang din dun sa church. Tapos sila may mga quarantine pass din. So, talagang buti na lang ganon.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
nung habang nagsiseremony, ina-apply pa rin po namin yung distancing kahit pa paano kasi mahirap na baka yung pang makita. Baka,
Aha. Okay,
yun po. Ayan yung sa
okay, and
picture, ganyan siya.
yeah. Meron pa alcohol. Okay, there we go. We have a slight delay.
I'm sorry. Hello, sir.
Okay, yeah. Sige, tuloy lang. Jeff, tuloy mo lang. Okay, I think we're
So,
having some.
marinig ng
Okay.
malinaw yung audio.
In any case, I think we're having a problem there. That was Jeff and Claudette. Interesting if you look at their photos during the wedding, talagang social distancing sila. And okay, so thank you very much, Jeff and Claudette. Medyo mahina na yung signal. Pero congratulations on your wedding, and may the Lord bless you 100
Yeah.
times, and stay healthy, stay strong, and stay safe. Okay, so we will now move over. Unfortunately, the signal just deteriorated, and we're still trying to do everything we can. Let's give Senator Win Gatchalian another shot. We hope his audio is now okay. Senator? Ay, 3 times unlucky. I can see you, Senator, but I can't hear you. And unless we do, yeah. Okay, we will try to get the good senator back with us. In any case, so there are good things that's happening. Good news regarding regarding COVID-19, and one of that was Jeff and Claudette getting married. If there's a will, there's a way. But as Jeff pointed out, they followed the rules. They followed social distancing. They followed the law, and all of their witness. There were 6 or 7, if I remember, and they all had their quarantine passes. Now, let's go forward to our other concerns, other topics. We have with us. We were still trying to get Senator Gatchalian. Now, as far as the news items are concerned, bad news is that for international news, the bad news is that the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, has been brought into the ICU. Excuse me, and people are quite concerned, although they're such a organized lot that immediately there was a designated deputy to take over the prime minister's responsibilities. The prime minister is still breathing on his own. He's being treated. He's being medicated. He's although in ICU, it's simply so that he can be given a lot of attention. Now in the United States, the bad news is they are now thinking and talking about mass graves because refrigerated vans aren't cutting the requirement. They're already expecting more and more mortalities. So what they're doing is they are considering the idea of digging up trenches in New York, in particular, to dig up trenches for this mass graves, and we still don't know, and we continue to pray. Although Governor Cuomo has stated that there is some flicker at the end of the tunnel because cases seem to be leveling off, or at least not shooting, not skyrocketing. So there is a glimmer of hope. Now, here in the Philippines, uh, the schools, according to a report by Jan Vic Mateo of the Philippine Star, schools have become shelters for frontliners. University of the Philippines Diliman in Quezon City has converted one of its buildings to accommodate around 35 health workers from the university's health service and the lung center of the Philippines. I'm just so proud also of our church, Victory Christian Fellowship, Every Nation. We've also opened our doors to health workers from the Rizal Medical Center, from BGC. And I think that's what we all have to do. We all have to start thinking of how we can help. Stop thinking of the help you're not getting. Start thinking of how we can help. We'll go for a quick break, and when we come back, we'll still try Senator Win Gatchalian, and if not, we'll do the wrap up of the program. Please stay with us. Win.
Yes. Can
Oh
you hear
yan,
me
okay
now?
na. Yan, okay na.
Okay.
Okay,
Sige.
thank you. Sige, let's go on, Gab. Okay, you're back here on Agenda. I'm Cito Baltran, the One News Group here on Signal TV. And back with us, finally, if it's not three times lucky, it's the fourth shot. Senator Win Gatchalian, great to have you on board.
Good morning, Sito. Good morning to our listeners. Good umaga.
Okay, first of all, how are you doing, Senator? How's everything from your end? I know you are also home quarantined, but is this ECQ because of the ECQ, or are you home quarantined because of exposure?
Well, just to give a little bit of a history, I was exposed to a COVID patient or a COVID infected person in one of our hearings a few weeks back. And then I went under self-quarantine and got tested. And then the test came out negative. So after that, I went out and went back to Valenzuela to observe what's happening and to also see what we should do on the ground. Because ang paniniwala ko, Sito, this virus can be fought home by home, house by house, street by street, barangay by barangay, LGU by LGU. if we can contain the virus in every house or in every street or in every barangay, hindi naaabot yung virus o hindi naaabot yung pasyente sa ating mga ospital. Therefore, the hospitals will not be overwhelmed and we will keep our capacity intact. So the LGUs play a very big role in this fight. And in fact, the LGUs play a very important role, not only city or municipal level all the way down to the barangay level, because we're talking about hundreds and or even thousands of PUIs, PUMs, and potential COVID patients on the ground.
Okay, from what you've seen, what you've heard and read, what are your thoughts on COVID-19 and what do you think should be done? Because if you know or if you've heard, medyo tinitira yung mga senador, sinasabihan na anong ginagawa nyo, nasaan ka, Mr. Senator, where's your money, etc. And you know, I guess it comes with the job, it comes with the reputation. But what's your reaction to all of this?
Well, this is not the right time to criticize one another and to hurl insults to one another, because a lot of our senators and legislators, for that matter, no, congressmen, councilors, and senators, they're all doing their part, no, in terms of helping, in terms of sharing, in terms of bayanihan. Marami sa kanila, they're doing their jobs quietly and they're doing their donations quietly without any fanfare, and that's what's important right now. No? Not to the most important here is to give and not to propel your name because you're giving. So, having said that, Sito, I've been observing here in Valenzuela what's happening, and ang pinaka-importante ngayon, Sito, and this is really, I want to put a lot of emphasis, is the testing. The extension, the next 2-week extension is our last chance of curbing the spread of this virus. Last chance because from what I hear from our constituents, they cannot take in another extension because of economic and financial reasons. In fact, kahapon lang Sito, may kausap kaming mga middle class na ito, nasa subdivisions natin. At ang sinasabi nila, nauubusan na sila ng savings. No? Nauubusan na sila ng buffer in terms of savings. Meaning they're now spending because they don't have income. You know, some of them are entrepreneurs. Some of them, they have their own businesses. And yung naipon nila for the past few years, ay ginagamit na nila because they have to sustain it to their household, not only to their immediate family, but also to their employees and to their other household. And that's my biggest fear. No? When the middle class is already saying that naubusan na kami ng savings, what more our poor constituents na wala naman silang savings? So, in the next 2 weeks is our last chance. And the biggest intervention in the next 2 weeks should be mass testing at the ground level. I'll give you a very specific example. Sito, we have close to 500 PUIs, PUMs here in Valenzuela. And yesterday, I went to our command center. Minomonitor namin lahat yan. But as the number increases, the government resources are being spread out thinly. We don't have enough manpower to monitor all 500 later on. And what we need to do now is to test all 500 and to see sino ba doon ang negative, sino ang positive. So Valenzuela, by tomorrow, will be undertaking our localized testing. We bought our own test kits. We partnered with the medical city for the processing of those test kits. Our strategy is to test all of those 500, isolate the ones who are positive, treat the ones who are positive, and concentrate on those positive. So ang importante ngayon ay yung government resources natin will be focused on the positive COVID patients.
Okay, so I get you've always been a very proactive legislator. Given all our discoveries here, we are now discovering the value of our frontliners, nurses, doctors, etc. We are now discovering the major role of barangay tanods.
Yeah,
my thoughts are, what would you be doing in terms of legislation? Kasi umaasa tayo sa barangay tanods. We rely on barangay tanods to enforce the ECQ, but we've never really, as a nation, invested on barangay tanods. It reminds me of our MMDA traffic enforcers. Many years ago, parang utusan lang yung mga yan, sinisigawan, disrespected, but through the years, they were required to have educational background certificates, they were given training. So now we respect them because they earned the respect with training and certificate. Yung sa barangay tanod, what are your thoughts on this? And also regarding the compensation of nurses, not just in the public hospitals, but private hospitals.
Okay. That's a very good question and a very good issue you pointed out, Sito, because I heard Dr. Herbosa mentioning earlier that it's important that we curb this at the local level. General Galvez also said the same thing. And to curb this at the local level, you need the enforcement all the way down to the barangays. Dito talagang malaki ang role ng ating mga barangay officials, especially the tanod. Because if they can enforce the ECQ to the letter, meaning walang lalabas lang kung may bibili ng pagkain o bibili ng gamot. If they can now make sure that everyone stays home, no? Kasi marami talagang matitigas ang ulo. But if the barangay can make everyone stays home, that will be the best case for us. And in order for them to implement the ECQ, they're also exposed. No? Nasabi ko kanina, maraming PUMs, PUIs all over our communities. And it's very difficult, no, to detect who are they, sino ba yung na-infect nila. Kaya yung mga barangay tanods natin and barangay officials are also frontliners who are exposed to these potential patients. Kaya,
So will you be proposing legislation for future trainings and for salary increases?
I think the most important here is to capacitate our barangay tanods in all types of disaster. Kasi kabisado nila yung, for example, may sunog o mayroong baha, pero itong ganitong pandemic is really something new for them. And I think one of the most important learnings that we caught here in Valenzuela is to not only to give the usual hazard pay, the usual salaries to our barangays or the usual allowances, but also make sure that they are capacitated. Alam nila yung gagawin na. They have the equipment in doing so. And first, and the most important is to protect their families also, because their families are also exposed when they're exposed.
Okay, I'll have to end it for now, Senator, but I hope we can reconnect next week because I
Yes.
want to continue with this issue about compensation for nurses and training for barangay tanods. Thank you very much, Senator. Please stay safe, stay strong, and stay healthy.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
Okay, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. We've gone over time, and we're going to have to end it at that. We ask all of you to please abide by the quarantine regulations. Stay strong, stay safe, and stay healthy. I'm Cito Beltran. This is Agenda. We are One News.